I'll never forget the day when the princess of our kingdom, Princess Cynthia, walked into our village. It wasn't just because of her beauty or the way her crown sparkled in the sun. It was because of the sight of her holding the hand of a blind man, Mr. Paul, a poor village man who couldn't even see her. It started when the princess visited our village for a special ceremony. She was always surrounded by guards, servants, and the finest people, so none of us expected much attention from her. But that day, something strange happened. She walked right up to Mr. Paul, who was sitting by the market, asking for a bit of help from anyone who passed by. His eyes were dull, his hands rough from years of hard work. He had never been rich, and certainly not famous. But somehow, Princess Cynthia saw something in him. I watched them from a distance. The princess, dressed in all her royal attire, kneeled beside the blind man and began speaking to him softly. She didn't seem to care about the fact that he couldn't see her. They spoke like two old friends, laughing quietly, her hand resting gently on his. There was something real between them, something neither of them seemed to hide. It was like they had their own world, apart from the one filled with riches and power. For days after that, Princess Cynthia visited Mr. Paul, always alone, always smiling. She would bring him fresh food, tell him stories, and simply listen to him. The villagers started gossiping. Why would a royal princess care for a poor blind man, they asked. Some thought it was just a passing whim, but I could see that it was more than that. One afternoon, the princess took Mr. Paul's hand and led him to the royal garden. She had a glow in her eyes, an unusual glow for someone in her position. It was as if she had found peace, a kind of joy I hadn't seen in her before. The crown on her head didn't matter to her in that moment. The gold, the jewels, the throne, they didn't matter. Over time, the two became inseparable. The princess no longer wore her crown when she visited him, and Mr. Paul would smile in his quiet, peaceful way, not needing to see her to know who she was. Everyone in the village had their thoughts. Some believed it was foolish. Others thought it was beautiful, but no one could deny that the love they shared was something pure, untouched by status or wealth. Eventually, the king and queen found out. They were furious. How could their daughter, their beloved princess, fall in love with a poor blind man? They ordered her to stop seeing him, but Cynthia was resolute. She loved Mr. Paul, and nothing could change that. The village watched as the princess made her choice. She didn't fight them with words, but with her heart. And in the end, love triumphed. The princess never returned to the royal palace, and neither did Mr. Paul return to his life of loneliness. They built a life together, in a humble house at the edge of the village, where the simple things mattered. The villagers learned that love can be more powerful than crowns and riches, and they began to speak of the blind man and the princess who loved him as one of the greatest tales ever told. And as for me, I'll always remember the moment when love truly opened my eyes, when it wasn't sight, but the heart that truly saw.